In May 2020, on the 40th anniversary of Ian Curtis's tragic death, Peter Hook gave me this fascinating, compelling, and in-depth interview about the former lead singer and icon. Let's talk about the Macclesfield gig first. I mean, did you go past the church and say, we must play there? What a fantastic location, loaded with history, but also a great building.
No, what happened was that when we got invited to do the Barnaby Festival, which I think was the year before or maybe 2 years before this gig, we played in Christchurch. Now, I didn't know the significance then. I just thought it was an old church in Macclesfield. And I must admit that for one reason or another, I am never very fond of Macclesfield. It's just weird. And it was only because here where I live, there's allotments, right? And in those allotments, there's a guy called Kelvin Briggs, who was Ian's best friend. Honest, he was Ian's best man at his wedding. Mm-hmm. And now Kelvin went into finance, where Ian went into the group, and I ended up getting a 24-track off him, finance, Lombard North Central, for Sweet 16. So I've known him quite well over the years, and now he's got an allotment, Ian's best man, and I see him all the time, you see. So anyway, we were just chatting, and he said to me, "Oh, I believe you did a gig in Macclesfield." And I said, yeah, we did it at Christchurch. And he went, "Oh God, Christchurch was where Ian used to go when he was a kid with his mum and dad. He was in the choir, would you believe? Mm-hmm. And also when they were youths, they used to have to go to church like we did in Salford. And then they gave you a ticket for the youth club mm-hmm. in the evening. So there was two, ties to Ian, but it was after we'd done the gig. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh wow, if I'd have known that, it would have felt all the better. So anyway, as it turned out, one of the organisers of Barnaby, they were trying to demolish the church, and he got in touch with us because we'd played there and asked us if we'd do a benefit gig to try and save the church, which is how this gig came about. Now, because we'd played it once, Muggins here was trying to think of something to make it different. And I don't know what possessed me to think that I could play 49 songs. I just thought, you know what? What an achievement that would be because this building's got such an affiliation with him. I thought it'd be great to play the whole repertoire of Joy Division, because the great thing about the Light, God bless them, is that they can do it. Mm-hmm. And we've already played all of those songs. We've done Unknown Pleasures, Closer, and Still. So we've played every Joy Division song before. Interestingly, a lot of the songs on Closer, not on Closer, sorry, a lot of the songs on Still are actually quite difficult to play. Comachino, Sound of Music, all the ones that were sort of left off the albums are actually tricky songs.
Well, what way?
They require a lot of playing. It's not simple. They seem to have, you have to concentrate more on them than Unknown Pleasures, which flows so naturally and so easily. Closer, which is easy but quite emotionally draining as an album, funnily enough. But the ones that we put on Still, Ice Age, all the really sort of rocky, it's not straight rock, funnily enough. It's not even indie rock. They're actually quite hard to play. Movement was hard to play because of the syncopation you needed between the three of you to play it, because it was written very much as a three-piece, and a lot of the music was sort of written to fit together with no vocals, because we didn't have any vocals. So we had all the songs ready with no vocals, and a lot of it, Senses, all those songs needed a lot of playing. So those songs are difficult to play, and we noticed when we came to do Still that they required a lot more concentration. So me asking them to play all three, which is what we did basically. They, we did not take that task lightly, and I must admit that the lads crazily were up for it. So we went for it, and it's the only time that I've ever played where I've had to actually pace myself, because I knew that if I started screaming off with the punky stuff, which is always first because we played it chronologically, you just blow your vocal cords straight away. So I actually had to pace myself, which was actually more difficult to not go with the emotion. I used to watch Ian do it all the time, but to actually think, you've got to bide your time, if you like, because it was 3 hours. And there's a lot of vocals in Joy Division songs, which people maybe don't realise because most of them don't have choruses. But yeah, there's a lot of vocals, a lot of words. So yeah, it was an interesting challenge. And I remember when we were playing it in the rehearsal room, and we'd practiced about 4 or 5 times and never got anywhere near playing the full lot. And we were starting to panic. But on the day, with the right amount of adrenaline, because that's all we have these days, it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was weird. I never thought it'd be as popular, but I think the thing is that Macclesfield has become such a shrine to Ian. And I think the church where he used to go and all this lot, I think it actually adds to the power that Joy Division and Ian can evoke. So we had over 10,500 people try to buy tickets, of which there was 450. And when we played the Academy next time, which was, what's that, 2,500? I thought, where are that other 7,500? People, where are they, So yeah, it's weird. It certainly did capture people's imagination.
What's it like to sing those songs? Do you really have to inhabit them? Is it really emotionally draining?
It's not emotionally draining now. I mean, it took me about, I have sung, obviously. I've sung throughout my career. And if you think about it, at a later date and novelty and into zone quite early on in Joy Division's career, I suppose the thing is that I was singing quite regularly. So, it wasn't the scary bit. Through Revenge and Monaco, you sort of learn the tricks. There are tricks that we learn, aren't there? That actually come naturally to you after a while. The thing about singing Joy Division was the expectation. What people. I mean, it's actually quite weird because when we started out, we only booked 1 gig at Factory, so we weren't expecting much. We managed to get 2 nights out of Factory, and then the next offer was to play Clermont-Ferrand. But they were all really short notice after that. There was no massive plan about how it would be received. And I didn't know whether people would like it or not, me doing it. I mean, I know Barney and Steve didn't like it. So I suppose in a funny way, you're thinking, oh, shit, nobody's going to like it. Joy Division fans won't like it. Da-de-da-de-da-de-da. But the thing is that Ian was always so positive about where we were going to go and what we were going to do when we got there and how successful we were going to be everywhere in the world. It was actually quite infectious. And he used to get us really going, talking about Brazil, talking about Mexico, talking about America, and all this line. It used to really get us, oh yeah, man, you can't wait. And that was one thing that stuck with me. And obviously the real tragedy of Joy Division is Ian. But then the other tragedy is a fantastic group never got to be professional. We never got to earn any money for the work that they put in. The songs were, in a weird way, cruelly taken away. And it actually had a very pure ending. And, you know, when we went into New Order, the rule was that we would have nothing to do with Joy Division because of the deal we made when we were all sat there in that pub in Piccadilly, and I can still remember it, the one with all the arcades in it. By Piccadilly there, as you come down the approach and you enter into the gardens, we were in that pub, the four of us. It was the same pub we decided to all dye our hair blonde, and only I did it. And it was at that pub that we decided that if any member left, then it would be over. And that would be the end of Joy Division, which is what we stuck to. So, I mean, I think that the reason Joy Division has gone on to do as well as it has done and still be held in such awe is the fact that you never desecrated it. You never had a Joy Division with another singer. You never had a Joy Division without the right members, you know, like most groups go on to do. It actually stayed very pure, and it had that awful, awful rock and roll cliche ending of, you know, live fast, die young. I mean, the music, obviously, which goes without saying, was fantastic. I think Ian was the only one that realised at the time how great the music was. Him and Martin Hannett, probably. Maybe Rob and Tony, but we didn't.
Famously, you didn't like the production of the records at the time. Did you have no realisation just how good the band really was?
We were so young that we just didn't. We didn't have that we're great attitude, Barney and I. Believe it or not, maybe you might not think of it now, but we were actually probably quite humble and quite shy at that time. But it was always Ian that listened to us probably and knew, and went to great lengths to tell us whenever you started to doubt or feel down. It was always him that would pick you up, telling you how great you were and how good you were going to be and where you were going to go and what you were going to do when you got there, as I said before. So it was that funny thing. You know, every time I get to a different place with the light, playing Joy Division, and I never know how many you're going to get, because you sort of starting off with the promoters that we know and love, that we started off with, when you can't rely on anything and you don't know what's going to happen when you get there, do you?
God bless
so, you know, yeah, God bless them. I hope they're all still there when we come out of this. But when to get there and then to find there's hundreds of people who are just like me, who love Joy Division. And that is the most wonderful thing in the world. I mean, the places that we play, and every time I get there and play, because the Light are a fantastic group, God, I can't even remember having a bad gig. Our bad gigs are all down to bad fallback. They're never down to bad group, you know. So it's all, I always think, there's another one for you, Ian. There's another one off Ian's list. You know, Mongolia off Ian's list, Mexico off Ian's list, you know, and the whole thing is to play to people who love Joy Division, like me. And yeah, it was weird. I mean, it seems really weird now. It seems really odd that I actually agreed to leave Joy Division for 30 years, to start in 2010. I love to play, and I always have done, and everybody knows that. So to be able to play the music that you love with people who love it.
What do you think every band had its own set time span?
You've noticed. 2 books I've just read, Debbie Harry, and reading about her travails in Blondie, and then I've got Roger Daltrey's on the go now, and his with The Who. I mean, you despair for this bloody business. You really do. If somebody would write a book where they just enjoyed themselves right the way through without getting ripped off and hating everybody they were working with, is there anybody out there that's going to write a book like that? I think the thing with Ian that was coming to a head, and the things that maybe led me to think this way now, are the letter that he sent to Tony Wilson, criticising Closer, and criticising the rest of the band that I never knew about. I got the shock of my life when I heard about. I've never seen it, but when I heard about that letter, he may have been preparing himself for a big change in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that was exacerbated by his illness, or whether it was, he wanted an escape from the lights and the exhaustion and the amount of emotion that went into playing. Maybe he wanted to rest. But I remember vividly that he would not rest. And even when we cancelled the gigs at the end, he was the one that didn't want them to cancel. He was the one that wanted to go on stage in Bury. He insisted on doing those 2 numbers that, in hindsight, caused all the trouble. He was in that way, it was his own worst enemy. But I do think that there was a lot of it was because he didn't want to let us down. He didn't want us to suffer because of his illness. So I can appreciate maybe now that he was really mixed up and he didn't know how it was going to proceed with his life. Because everybody always wonders what happened that Saturday night to change everything. And the fact that I was with him on Friday and spoke to him on Saturday is the puzzling thing.
What was he like on the Friday? What was the mood like?
Came home from rehearsal. We were in my £35 Mark 10 Jag, which just had bench seats, no seat belts, and we were jumping up and down in the car, on the bench seats, all over the place, screaming all the way back to Moston with excitement, me and him, because we were going to America. I remember dropping him off at his mother's and father's in Moston, breathless with excitement, Friday night. Yeah.
What was the last rehearsal like?
Last rehearsal was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, great. Everything was just primed and ready. I mean, if you look at the material we were playing, we would have taken America, turned it upside down and kicked the shit out of it. We would come back huge. Would have been exactly what we needed. So yeah, it was really weird. It was the biggest, awful. Sunday I got the phone call, because I was one of the only ones that had a phone at home. And I got the phone call while I was having Sunday lunch. And the police sergeant said to me, "Oh, do you know Rob Gretton?" And I went, "Yeah." And I thought, what the hell's happened here now? He said, "Oh, we're trying to get in touch with Rob Gretton." And I was like, "Oh, well, why? What's the problem?" And he went, "Well," he said, "I've got to tell him that Ian Curtis took his life last night." I was like, oh, God. So, yeah, it was a real shock.
You're all set. You're about to go to America. Was there any sign of anything, any underlying tension?
Well, I mean, I think looking back on it with the benefit of age, we probably shouldn't have listened to him, and we should have stopped before we did, which was those couple of dates on the Buzzcocks tour. I mean, we still played. Was it May the 4th? We played in Birmingham. I don't know if he had a fit that night. I can't actually remember if he had a fit that night. But it wasn't a great gig if you listen to the tape. So there had been occasions before that when he'd, had fits at the gigs. But in this stupidest way that you can get used to anything, you got used to it happening. And so did he. I remember in Brighton when we played with the Buzzcocks, and he had a massive fit, and he was fitting for nearly an hour, and me and Rob were taking it in turn to hold his tongue while he was fitting. And then when I got cramp, Rob would take over, and then when he got cramp, I'd take over again. And then we had to wait like an hour and a half before he was even well enough for us to take him to Casualty. And I remember standing outside Casualty with Rob because he was smoking, and Ian coming out like nothing had ever happened. We were going, how are you? You know, are you all right? I'm fine. Let's go. Blah, 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 blah. Straight back to the gig. Oh, you like that? Back. It was the strangest contradiction.
Like you say, you get used to it because that's the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, did that affect you at all? You know, when you go on stage, you happen to be holding his tongue for about an hour. It must have made it quite a weird mindset to be on stage with.
No, it was always after. His fits were always during the show or at the end of the show.
Could you tell when you were playing live if he was about to have a fit?
He would freeze, and he would. It was every time the fuckers flashed the lights. Rob would stress to them, even grabbing them by the lapels and threatening them, "Do not flash the lights. Do not flash the lights." And most of them never took any fucking notice because you were the support band. It was still that, you know, real stigma. And they'd flash them, and me and Barney would go, "Oh no," and we'd go, "Stop flashing the fucking lights!" But it'd be too late, and it really wouldn't take him long to go. And then he would freeze, and then he would freeze completely, like rigor mortis. So when Twinny and Terry would have to carry him off, he would be, you know, almost frozen in place. It was fucking bizarre. But of course, the audience thought it was part of the act. So you're like, oh my God.
What could you do when you're playing? Do you would keep on playing, or
you just keep on till the end of the song and then you'd finish and go on. I mean, I'd like to say he was in good hands. But, you know, in an odd way, we were all used to it happening. And then he'd come round, he'd be a bit shaky. And then before you know it, he'd be right as rain again. And then he'd be raring to go. And he'd, you know, joining in the shenanigans of everything, which I think was the thing that enabled you to ignore it. Now, I mean, you know, the thing is that I felt guilty for years. Still feel guilty a lot of the time about it. You know, even now talking about it, you still feel guilty about it. But the thing is that when you're honest with yourself about it, there were a lot older people than us. We were idiots. Martin Hannick could have told you that. There were a lot of professionals, a lot of older people round him. And I suppose in the end, funnily enough, the youngest and the daftest ended up having to look after him. You know, really needed somebody who was a bit older to say no. You know, and we would say, "Let's stop. We'll stop. You know, we'll stop playing." And he was always the one that didn't want to stop.
No, I think at the end of the day, because of that's what drove the situation, wasn't it? If he wanted to do it, despite whatever, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I mean, I think at the back of your mind, you knew, especially whenever he had a fit, that in reality, maybe you didn't want to admit it to yourself, which was why we stopped. We had to stop. But I mean, he was, I mean, when he went to live with Tony, and he didn't have a great time there because Lindsay was being really weird about him being there. She says in the book she feels guilty because she kicked him out. I don't want him moping round. Get rid of him, you know. So yeah, I suppose the guilt went round us all. Yeah,
but nobody could see the end point at that time.
Well, I mean, he was such contradiction. When he was up, he was sky high. When he was down, after he'd had a fit, he wouldn't stay down for long. You did not meet a morose Ian Curtis. He was very bright. Now, whether he was just very good at picking himself up and, you know, hiding it. Honestly, most of the time, 95% of the time, he was right on it. This is what we're going to do. Come on, you fuck off. We don't take any shit from anybody. Get fucked. No. Bah, bah, bah. You're like that. Whoa, this is great. You know, he had more backbone than bloody all of us. You know? It was always him that was arguing with Rob about everything. You know, I think if he hadn't have died, he probably would have killed him once the hacienda came along. Ian would not have maybe been as stupid as we were about our finances. He was a little bit sharper than us in that respect.
People always theorise about the new direction of New Order coming out of Joy Division. Would you think that's a direction you may have gone in anyway?
I'm not too sure, because I think the thing is that in reality, if you were going to look at the big change in the music, there's a big change in the music from Joy Division to New Order. Big change. Mm-hmm. There were occasional tracks that sounded like Joy Division, ICB. Mm-hmm. Some of all the music on Movement, probably some of it was done with Ian. So we would have had In a Lonely Place, we would have had Ceremony. I've got tapes of, some of the other songs. I've got a tape of ICB by Joy Division. So some of those riffs were from Joy Division. So I do think that Ian gave us a darkness and a strength in that rocky darkness that we did not have after him. Mm-hmm. And try as we might, me, Barney and Steve just couldn't get the intensity that Ian had. And that's why the music changed. We were 3/4 of Joy Division, we weren't 100%. So you couldn't sound like Joy Division ever.
It's interesting that though, because you go back to the rehearsal room just down the road, Little Peter Street, it's a week afterwards, isn't it? To carry on.
It was a couple of weeks because we actually decided to become New Order at the inquest. Mm-hmm. So it was a few weeks after. Mm. I remember stopping at a pub as you come into Poynton, coming out of Mac into Poynton, pub's still there. I see it all the time. And we had lunch. Gillian was with us, and Rob asked us if we wanted to carry on. Mm. Do you want to go back to fucking work? Fucking carry on, or what? What do you want to do? And me, Barney and Steve did not want to go back to work. Mm. Which was weird because Steve was working for his dad. And even he didn't want to go back to work with his company car and all sorts. So yeah, and that was it. So we said, right, well, should we start playing again? And we started playing. And the first song we started to play was Dreams Never End, which was the one that took us into the next bits, and then we just used some of the bits we had left from Joy Division to go through. Yeah,
it's interesting, that idea that the tone and the atmosphere and the textures of the songs really affected by Ian just being in the room with you.
Probably, yeah, maybe subconsciously as well. Yeah, I do. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing a song like Procession with Ian, which was pretty early on, wasn't it, Procession? Mm. So, yeah, I mean, it would be, yeah, there was a discernible change in music pretty soon, yeah. But, I mean, God knows what happens after a shot like that. And in a funny way, we were actually encouraged to put distance between us and Joy Division, and to be something different. So there may have been other reasons why. I mean, Ian, I don't think Ian would have said, no, we're not fucking doing that Procession. Fuck it off, it's too poppy. It's off. We're dark. We're antimatter superheroes. Yeah. He may have done, but considering that Ceremony and In a Lonely Place were so Joy Division-y, the next ones, Dreams Never End, Procession, ICB, Moving Through, they do have a lightness that is different to 70s Joy Division.
Is that a reaction, do you think, by the band?
If it was subconscious. I mean, we were. I mean, I'm telling you, mate, I don't know if you've ever been through something like that as a musician, but we were lost and we were scared and we never wanted to go back to Joy Division.
What was your first meeting with Ian like? Did he really stand out?
Well, you noticed him when he turned round because he had hate on his coat in neon letters, or in neon, was it? I mean, if you looked at somebody like I look at you now, I would probably expect you to have hate on your back. But if you looked at Ian Curtis, you would not expect Ian Curtis to have hate on his back. You would probably expect it to have 4 kittens. More than that, there was a real.
Was he quite gentle looking, nervous looking soul?
Yeah, he was quite geeky, quite wimpy. I mean, he's a very charismatic look. But we were all there was very few people at those gigs, and until the Sex Pistols kicked off with Grundy, the attendance, oh my God, it was like 10 times more after that. So you knew everybody that went to those gigs. And I remember meeting Ian after maybe seeing him before. We'd done gigs all over the place. We saw Eater at Holdsworth Hall in Deansgate, which was an absolute riot of a gig. Then you went to see the Slaughtering the Dogs at Stretford Town Hall. Because punk was so new, all these places were letting you have punk gigs and then regretting it immediately. The Oaks in Chorlton, there was the Squat. We were not only playing at these gigs, but we were going there every night, watching gigs as well. And we saw and got to know a lot of the people very quickly because there were so few of us. We were all going bananas, pogoing, spitting. Everybody was into the atmosphere of it totally. So you got to know him very, very quickly, and you would converse. And as soon as you saw him, "Hiya, mate, how's it going? How's your band?" That was the thing. His band had a drummer and a guitarist, and our band had a bass player and a guitarist. So because of the rules of punk, our one bass, we couldn't get together. So we kept seeing him, and it was, "Oh, how you doing, mate? Yeah, we got loads of songs. Yeah." And we'd be like, "Yeah, we've got loads of songs. We might be getting a gig," and he'd be like, "Oh, I might be getting a gig," and all the usual thing that you talk about when you form groups. So yeah, we got to know him as part of the crowd that went.
Was it just basically just those kind of conversations, music conversations, or were you getting to know a bit better? Do you think there's something about this guy that's interesting, and vice versa as well? Was he kind of looking at you, Barney? These guys are a lot closer to what I would like to do or hang out with.
No, there was nothing like that. Not from my point of view. He just seemed like a nice guy. He was interested in the same things we were. So it was actually quite easy to be with him. And you were always at the same gigs. If we went to one, Susie and the Banshees at Bellevue or whatever, Ian would be there. Hiya, man, yeah, do you want a drink? All that lot.
Did either party sense something in each other? Something extra, something they needed?
No, there was nothing like that. Not from my point of view. He just seemed like a nice guy. He was interested in the same things we were. So it was actually quite easy to be with him. And you were always at the same gigs. If we went to one, Susie and the Banshees at Bellevue or whatever, Ian would be there. Hiya, man, yeah, do you want a drink? All that lot, and buff. And you just became friendly gig friends. And yeah, it was actually quite normal to see him. And I mean, we remember it differently, don't we? Barney and I remember getting Ian 100% differently. I remember asking him at a gig how his band was going, and he said it had split up and the guy had left. And we said, "Oh, well, come and give us a go," And Barney says that he put an advert in Virgin that Ian answered. And didn't Steve say that as well? Didn't Steve say he answered an advert in Macclesfield? And that isn't how I remember it at all.
It's 40 years ago, so it's bound to be slightly different memories going on. Maybe there was an advert, but he didn't answer it. Maybe everybody was right.
We did put an advert in because we had the biggest bunch of nutters you've ever seen in your life. Honestly, I remember doing the advert. Because we had a lot of people that phoned up, to be the lead singer. I remember that. and some of them were fucking hell, because we were advertising for a lead singer and a drummer. Literally, we went through 8 drummers and about 5 or 6 lead singers. A lot of the lead singers never even got past meeting them. Once you met them, you knew they were just lunatics. So I don't think we actually auditioned any of the lead singers, I don't think.
What kind of singer were you looking for? Like a punk singer at the time? Or?
It was just a punk singer, yeah. Punk band needs singer. It's like that, yeah.
Ian Curtis, like everybody else, was just coming out punk. Did you sense there was something different, something special about him, maybe?
Well, I mean, when we started working together, it just seemed really easy. And he was very positive about what you were doing, very appreciative. He was very, very good at making you feel good. He was a real people pleaser, I suppose, in that aspect. He was really good at it. I mean, he's the most generous lead singer I've ever met. I've never met a lead singer that wanted you to sing. Never. No, you sing. You could sing this one. Fucking hell, you know, you're the best vocalist I've ever heard in my life. Why would you want me to sing it? You know, you're like, fucking hell, mate, your lyrics are sublime. What the fuck do you want me to write one for? You know, I mean, it was like, he was so good. It was like, he always wanted you to sing, but he was so good. And, you know, all that thing about people say, did you realise the lyrics? Did you know what the lyrics were? I didn't have to know what the lyrics were, because all I had to do was look at him, and I knew he fucking meant it, whatever they were. He was just fantastic. He was fantastic to be on stage with. He went for it, absolutely, 100%. He was just the perfect guy to be in a group with. You know, telling Tony Wilson to fuck off, having a fight with the drones because he couldn't get on the last night at the Electric Circus, offering out Fast Breeder because they were fucking us over. You know, this was the boy that you wanted with you. I mean, I must admit, Barney and Steve were never anywhere about when these things were happening. It was usually always in the same way it was with New Order as well. If there was ever a fight, they were all fighting to get under the piano. You know what I mean? It would only be me, Swinny, Terry, Ian, and amazingly enough, Tony Wilson, funnily enough. That would be Rob Gretton. You couldn't stop him. You know, he was such a... He was... With people like that by your side, you could not go wrong, really, you know.
Yeah. What was he like at rehearsals? Did he always have that same level of intensity of performance?
No, he was just really nice, really helpful, really just into it. And the thing is that what you've got to bear in mind with Joy Division that was amazing was that we were writing a song a week, you know, each, if not 2 a week, and they were all fucking fantastic. We hardly dumped any. I mean, the only song that we dumped, to my knowledge, was Pictures. Because it was in that period between us being punks and actually starting writing decent songs. Pictures was in that period, and there was another couple that I found on cassette tapes. One was called In the City, and an early digital that was very... You can see the punk mid-phase Joy Division. You know, there were only those ones in the mid-phase that we dropped. So yeah, no, he was really easy. He was full of ideas. He was very encouraging, and he had that little plastic bag, Tesco plastic bag, full of bits of paper with lyrics on, and he'd just be pulling them out, and unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
How close did you get to him? I mean, obviously everyone's very young then, and young men don't get that close, but. What was it?
I mean, he was in a funny position, really, because he got married at 19, early 19. He had a child by the time he was 20. Plus, he had a mortgage. Now, the rest of us, the other 3, were, you know, all at home with the mum and dads. So he was a completely different kettle of fish, and he went to live in Oldham. And when he got to Oldham, he hated it in Oldham. And it just didn't work for them. And because of the baby, it just didn't work for whatever reason. So in the end, Debbie decided to move home. They sold the house. She moved to her mum's in Mac. And Ian went to live with his gran in Stretford. Mm-hmm. Now, that was when me and Barney got a mate. Because then the three of us, because he was with his gran in Stretford, his wife was with her mum and dad in Mac, we went fucking bananas. We were out all the time. We were always calling for him. We were always at gigs. And yeah, you know, his gran was going, oh, have you phoned Debbie? And we were going, phone her later, mate, phone her later. You know, come on. It was like if anything, I'd have to say Bernard and I did lead him down the path of devilment. And he was free. You know, it took him a long time to get another house, which is the one he got in Barton Street. Mm-hmm. And to move back in. By that time, the group were very, very active. So yeah, while we were there, we were really, really close, and we were going out all the time. I mean, it's just, surely it's happened to you as a group member. That mad bond is like the honeymoon period, like you have with a girl. It's you all want to be together all the time, and he was, you know, a big part of that.
What was the dynamic like in that when you were going out? Not in the rehearsal room, but just as mates going out and
the dynamic was fine. He was a right laugh. We had some right laughs, and he was a huge music fan. He was a huge music expert. Mm-hmm. So he could regale you with his tales of seeing Can, fucking Faust, Kraftwerk, anybody you wanted to hear about. Ian could tell you about them. I mean, Ian was the first one that played me a Doors track. Mm-hmm. And said, whenever I said, who are these band, the Doors, that we're supposed to sound like? I've never heard of them. And he said, oh, you know, come to our house tomorrow. So I drove up to his house in Barton Street, and we're in his little writing room. A very unusual shape, that house. It was really weird. It was almost like a corner thing, and his writing room was on the front. It was quite weird. And he put in a Doors track on, Riders on the Storm. And I thought, fucking hell, we do sound like the Doors. So much so that we actually played Riders on the Storm as a gag, and no one noticed. It was another Joy Division song. Yeah, it's quite weird.
What was Ian getting from you and Barney? Was there a cross-pollination of ideas?
Well, no, I mean, I suppose Barney and I were willing young students for Ian Curtis's vast musical knowledge, whether he was just bullshitting. We didn't care. We just soaked it up like a pair of sponges, you know. Steve was always the weird one. Steve was very middle class. He was very affluent compared to us three. You know, he had a car. He worked for his dad. I couldn't believe it when I got to his house and he had a fucking goldfish pond in the drive. I was like, what the fuck is that? And there was all koi carp in it, in the drive. We were like, wow, what the fuck is this? I'd never seen a house that big. I'd never seen anything like that in all my life. I'd certainly never been in one. You know, when we went up to do Ideal for Living, we were folding the sleeves for Ideal for Living in his house, and I'd never seen anything that big in all my life, you know. So Steve was always a little bit different, and I mean, I think you can even tell now when you meet him, he's not as bad as he used to be, but he's still very nervy, I should say, which is even more so, you know, when he was younger. So I suppose he was the butt of the jokes, maybe. In the early days, and he was a little bit different, but once you heard him drum along, it was wow. It was like suddenly finding fifth gear, you know, when you're stuck in third. It was that playing the music, and Jesus, it was like, you know, getting the two of them was so lucky. Find two such talented people, and I suppose in a way, and I'd hope that the two of them would say to find me and Barney, someone as good as Barney was on guitar, and somebody as good as I am on bass, you know, in an individual point of view, was very lucky for them. So yeah, I mean, it's all about luck, isn't it? It's just luck, finding each other.
Would it be fair to say that Ian Curtis was the first fan of you and Barney and the band?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He saw something in you and Barney that you couldn't even see yourselves.
No, he did, yeah. Because I didn't have a bleeding clue.
Hmm.
And I honestly did not have a clue. When I listen to Unknown Pleasures now, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that we did it. Because we were so young and so fucking stupid. That I'm amazed that we did it. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. It belies your age so much. It really, really does. And the fact that we've never been able to do anything like it since. And I bet all of us have tried. You know what I mean? You know, what imitation of Joy Division, Bad Lieutenant are, or Revenge are, or even Monaco are. You know what I mean? You're nowhere near.
He wasn't just going to find any two kids in town and mould them into a band that he could hear in his head, because he didn't have the sound in his head, but he saw there was something inside him.
He may have done. He may have had the sound in his head. He may have been that good. I mean, he didn't. You know, he didn't mould you. I mean, it was a real sharing of ideas. There was no way in the world that you could say that Ian Curtis wrote Joy Division's music, because he didn't. I know that happens, as we know, it happens in bands. You know, where someone takes over, reading about the Who now and realising how Pete Townsend wrote everything.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. I'm like, how the fuck did he do that on his own? You know, bass parts, drum parts, vocal parts, guitar parts, keyboard parts, everything. He did everything. And, you know, Roger Daltrey is quite self-confessed in saying that he did everything. But Ian didn't do that. The only idea he ever came in with, musically, I mean, he helped. That sounds great. This sounds great. Oh, let's do something dead rocky. Oh, let's do something a bit laid back. Let's do something a bit open. All that lot. But the only one he ever came in with, and he said, I'd like to do a song that goes da 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 down. Da 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 down. I'd like to do one like that. We went, yeah, okay. Both failures. That was literally the only time that he ever came in with, I really want to do one like this, that I can remember. You know, so yeah, he was, and I do remember that when it started to become, and that's what made me think about the Dave Haslam thing, celebrating, you know, the life and however the title is done, the fact that it doesn't mention Joy Division. Ian would have hated that, because if anybody said it's Ian Curtis and Joy Division, he used to go fucking mad. It's not Ian Curtis and Joy Division, it's Joy Division, it's fucking Joy Division. And it'd be fucking, no, don't do that, don't say that, stop him, Rob, stop him. He'd go fucking mad if anyone tried to divorce him from the band.
Which is right, yeah, because
it is right, but it's rare.
In that period, that classic thing of that time, in post-punk, the classic post-punk band, every single member of the band is a lead player.
Yes.
That's what it was.
I mean, that's what happened with New Order for a long, long time. When New Order were really good and really changing the world in a different way to Joy Division of music, that was when you had no one that, I mean, Gillian, as you know, didn't write a lot of the music anyway. But when Barney wasn't in charge, I think, in my opinion, we're a much more interesting musical force than Barney became in charge. Because you can hear when Barney's in charge, which is Republic. And then you can hear it right the way through. It changed on Get Ready, because me and him were very equal, because Steve and Gillian had nothing to do with Get Ready. They were never there. So that became much more equal. And I actually liked Get Ready a lot. But then Barney tried to get back to his old ways. But I still think that Waiting for the Siren's Call has got some great songs on it. Really good songs. And funnily enough, when you listen to Lost Sirens, that's got some great songs on it as well. It's just that his attitude, and quite right, I mean, everyone's allowed to change, aren't they, as they go older? We've seen it in how many relationships have me and you been through where you've changed, and she sits there and goes, "You've changed." I'm going, "I don't fucking think I've changed, but obviously to you I've changed." So there you go. It's just life, isn't it? That's what happened.
To pick it up a little bit, but I mean, yes, Barney is a great songwriter. He's a great pop songwriter, but the real core strength of Joy Division and New Order at its peak was that thing in that period, that post-punk period, where everyone's playing a different song at the same time, but somehow it sounds like a song, and that's the magic, and that's the trick, and that's why I could never be Ian Curtis and Joy Division, because his voice was just another instrument in this great composite of sound.
What I loved about Ian was that Barney was always quite formulaic. Verse, bridge, chorus, middle eight, double chorus, end. Always the same. Once he got into his groove, that was how every song had to be. What I love about early New Order is that they weren't like that. As you say, they were wandering pieces of music, overlapping the way that Joy Division used to do. Ian was never like that. He was never shadow play. Has no chorus. And yet, what a wonderful, wonderful song. So many of them are formless, but absolutely perfect in their form. You can see that. Disorder has the chorus in once at the end. If you're going to call that a chorus.
And the thing is,
builds up sublimely to that piece, and that piece finishes it perfectly. So Disorder, the end, feeling, has got nothing to do in actuality with all the rest of the song, but has everything to do with all the rest of the song, and finishes it off absolutely perfect. It's the weirdest song.
And he would not be able to do that with anybody he could find round town. So he had to, somehow maybe it's instinctive, I don't know what it was, but he found the right two people, even though there were 19 idiots running around town.
That made me smile, and it's something that I've never thought of. But that's a nice feeling. That sends shivers down my spine, and it's a nice feeling. Playing Joy Division's music gave me my career, my life. I'm much happier now I'm playing it. The fact that I sing it is difficult. I suppose it's that old guilt thing again, isn't it? The guilt comes back. But it is a pleasure to sing it, and it's a pleasure to see the effect that the music has on people. And it's a wonderful, wonderful pleasure to fly somewhere where Joy Division never even got anywhere near, and to be welcomed, and for people to just dig what we created in that shithole of a room, freezing our bollocks off. 2 hours on a Wednesday and 1 hour on a Sunday. Dig it that much that they'll bring me over to their country and let me wander about. Not anymore, but it's such a wonderful thing to do. Yeah.